The new Warzone map Urzikstan dropped this week, and a lot of people have been on social media and in the COD community saying that Warzone is officially back. But is it? This is my opinion on the matter. Enjoy. Much like the multiplayer of Modern Warfare 3, movement is once again back in Warzone. We no longer have that clunky movement that we had in Al Mazrah and Warzone 2. We can now slide cancel again, we can now outplay enemies again with movement. And it feels like we somewhat are on the way back to being back to the original Warzone. However, there is a few things I would like to see tweaked with the movement. When they announced that slide cancelling was coming back, I was dead set against it being, do not reset tac sprint. And that's what they've done. It doesn't reset tac sprint. However, for Warzone, I think I would like to see it reset the tac sprint. I feel like it's still a little bit clunky between maybe when you slide cancel and you try and tac sprint. I think the movement feels a little bit cleaner in multiplayer than it does in Warzone. Maybe we'll get a tweak later down the line. Who knows? Now, also like the multiplayer, the gunplay feels really, really nice in Warzone. We've got no more sort of mad visual recall or smoke coming in on the barrel. When you shoot a gun, it doesn't go like this on the screen or anything like that. And for the first time in about a year of Warzone, we can actually use better sights that are not just a little red dot sight. We can actually use like 2 to 3 times optics as well on assault rifles and actually be able to see what we're shooting at across the map. The gunplay feels good. However, there is a thing that is very, very controversial at the moment. It is the placement of one-shot snipers. Personally, for me, I think some of the snipers have that much of a quick ADS time, even though they're meant to be heavy snipers and only one-shot snipers. I think there needs to be a bigger limitation on one-shot snipers than what there currently is in Warzone. There probably won't be in ranked, which once ranked drops, I will play quite a bit of, so I'm okay with that. But for pub matches, it's really annoying when you're on a sort of a heat of a match, and all of a sudden you get domed in the head with a sniper. Now, the map itself is probably the best Warzone map we've had since Verdansk, in my opinion, and the map plays with pretty good pace. They've dropped the player count from 150 to 100 purely because of what they say is server stabilization. Now, what I will say is that Activision, who obviously produce Call of Duty throughout obviously like little subsidiary companies, are a billion-dollar company, and if you need to drop a battle royale down from 150 to 100 because of server stabilization, you need to look at yourself more than maybe punishing how the community play Warzone. Maybe look at the fact of the matter is that you need to get better servers. It is a bit annoying that we only have 100 players rather than 150. It still does play with a good place. Urzikstan, the map. The map is pretty good. There's no giant hill in it. It's relatively flat for the most part, which is actually really, really nice. And there's a lot going on in it as well. It's a lot more built up than Al Mazrah and Caldera combined. It feels like we're finding out the best of sort of all of the Warzone maps maybe into one complete map. And yeah, I'm really enjoying playing it. Finally, we've had a Warzone map drop that doesn't revert any of the features from the previous Warzone map. This is the first Warzone map to drop with redeploy balloons in it. So we have sort of like portable buy stations already in the ground loot. We have lootable perks in the ground loot. We have things that were already in Warzone already in the game, which means that they've got to innovate this year for the first time. They can't just be like, oh yeah, guess what? You know how you had redeploy balloons? Well, we took them out of the game. Well, here's a new feature. You're getting them back. Can't be done this time around. They're already in the game, so it bodes well for the future of Warzone. But the fact of the matter is that we've got all of these features already in the game from day one. And speaking of day one features, they already announced this before Warzone dropped, and I thought it was a big win. However, I already spoke about it on a video. Is the fact that they have got rid of like perks like overkill and sort of quick hands and stuff like that, so you can swap weapons quicker, or you can use maybe 2 main weapons. That is now just standard across all of Warzone, which is an absolute win, which means there's no more kind of having to sacrifice a perk to use 2, sort of like an ER and an SMG, or a sniper and an ER, stuff like that. There is no longer that's not needed anymore. We can literally just run an SMG alongside an ER if we want to. That is standard in Warzone. That is a big win in my opinion, and it feels like now we're kind of getting perks that can actually really make a difference to our gameplay. So far, Warzone, Urzikstan, Warzone 3, whatever you want to call it, is in a brilliant place, I think. However, there are some things that do need changing, and the first one is, of course, audio. Now, who would have thought that a Call of Duty Battle Royale would have very, very poor audio? Everyone. It's probably worse than it has been ever before. There's been times where I've been landing on a parachute. There's been no sort of audio cue to say let me dropping in, or even hear the parachute, and I get gunned. There's been times where people's full-on tac sprinted up mud and says behind me. Never heard them, and guess what? I've got gunned. I think the audio is bugged. However, there is a perk in the game called Flex, which reduces the combat noise and boosts footsteps. Please tell me that that perk is not supposed to improve the audio, and that's what it's actually meant to do. Please tell me the actual audio is bugged. Hopefully we'll have a fix for it soon. If not, man, we surely cannot be going along another year with very, very poor audio once again in a Call of Duty Battle Royale. Now, I've praised the map. The map plays, I think, with a decent pace. It looks good. However, it's not very memorable in my opinion. If you think back to the Verdansk, you can name probably all the points of interest in Verdansk, but the points of interest were like sort of a massive solo building. Talking superstore, talking airport, which again, alright, it had the car park and stuff on it, but for the most part, you thought just the airport building. It had prison on the outskirts of the map, big giant castle. You had dam right at the top of the castle. Even Caldera had things like sub base, which are very much on the eastern side of the map, and one giant building. You also had docks at the top of the map, which again looked like a dockyard. A few buildings here and there, but it had ships in it and stuff like that. On Urzikstan, the points of interest are very much just like sort of downtown Verdansk-esque, where it's just a cluster of buildings. So you've got like Low Town and Old Town, I think, in the middle of the map. They're just clusters of buildings with really sort of like tiny sort of, like buildings that aren't very high. You can sort of traverse the rooftops here and there. There's no memorable POIs, I think, for me in this game. Even the military base doesn't really have all that much. Again, it's just a cluster of buildings. The cargo port where the dock, again, it's just loads of different containers. It's nothing really memorable. There's no like massive one like this is Superstore because it's one giant building, or this is prison because it's like a giant, like feature on the map. Urzikstan's points of interest, or POIs if you want to call them, are very much just scattered out buildings, which I think makes it a little bit less memorable in my opinion. Now, I don't know if it's because of the faster movement or if it just feels off to me personally, but some things on the game feel a bit delayed for me. So we can obviously move very quick now, and we can move a lot quicker than we could, obviously, back in Warzone 2. But reloading without sleight of hand feels very, very slow. Plating feels very, very slow for some reason. Trying to use the buy station and backing out of the buy station feels very, very slow for some reason. These things just feel delayed, and I don't know if it's because the game is now quicker in general and I'm just not used to them, or if it actually is a thing with Call of Duty. I don't know, I can't put my finger on it. Modern Warfare 3 is very much being touted as a DLC for Modern Warfare 2, and to be honest, I would agree and say that it is just a DLC, just reskinned because of how bad Modern Warfare 2 actually was. However, because of this, obviously there is going to be a lot of overlap, and I get that. Obviously, we had the Modern Warfare 2 guns at launch for Modern Warfare 3, and you can use them in multiplayer, you can use them in zombies. I get why they're there. However, a lot of the ground loot in Urzikstan is just Modern Warfare 2 guns. Now, there'll be some people playing Warzone that never bought Modern Warfare 3. Like, I'm not spending $70 or £70 on a new game for literally to be a DLC. I'm just going to keep playing Warzone, and then when Warzone drops, I'll use the Modern Warfare 3 guns then. That's fine. However, a lot of people then are now coming to, like, you're looting, and all of a sudden you just get a Modern Warfare 2 gun out with, like, a chest. Why not put the Modern Warfare 3 guns just totally in the ground loot? And it means that people can use them and level them up and then obviously create their own loadouts on the basis of that. Having Modern Warfare 2 guns on the ground loot is just annoying. We've used them for a year now. Please just give us something a bit fresher. Also, who asked for this cutscene? It was fun the first couple of times. It's now just irritating. Get rid of it, please. It's been a burden since start of Warzone. I mean, the very, very start of Warzone. Way back in Verdansk. The gas mask animation. Now, this time round, when you pick a gas mask up, you automatically put the gas mask on, and you kind of, it does, the breathing of your player, like, as if you're in a gas mask, and your screen, it does come down on your screen, and I think it does change the screen just ever so slightly. And now you have to sort of store that if you want to use it, if you don't want it on. So then you've got to kind of pick it up and then take it off and store it, put it in your backpack. But then if you want to put it back on, you've then got to go click back through your backpack, find the gas mask, and then equip it again, which is better because it means we're not getting animation mid-gunfight. However, it's also just really, really clunky to try and use. If you play mouse and keyboard, 2 clicks or whatever, pressing a button and a click, probably brilliant. Trying to play it on controller, which like most players do, it's very clunky. Again, it's just a feature that's not really needed. For me, Call of Duty is just an arcade shooter. If you've got a gas mask, you pick it up. As soon as the gas touches you, it should just start ticking down. I don't see why we need this gas mask animation to put it up or on, anything like that. It shouldn't interrupt anything. It should just be a background feature that just works. Somehow, they've made a feature that was already really irritating even worse. So there are some things that need tweaking. However, I think personally, Warzone is very much on the way to being back. I don't think it's back totally. I don't think the map is anywhere near as good as somewhat of the heyday of Verdansk. I mean, we'll never get that feeling of like lockdown Verdansk back. However, for me, it's somewhat on its way back. I think we've got a very, very solid starting point this year, rather than trying to play catch-up, especially with Caldera and Al Mazrah and Warzone 2. Sort of, the developers very much played catch-up from day one of what the community actually wanted. We don't have that this year. We've actually got a good, solid starting point. If I was to rate that out of 10, it's probably like a solid 8 at the moment, how good Warzone actually is. And that's a massive compliment, bear in mind where Warzone has been in the last 2 years. So hopefully we're in for a good year. Hopefully we'll see some really good changes. And yeah, I think that Warzone is on its way to being back. And it's been actually just released very, very recently in terms of me recording this, that a lot of gaming sources, especially Charlie Intel and Modern Warzone, are saying that Verdansk is going to be the big map for 2024. So we are could be very much on our way to being back.